Welcome to my channel. I'm DaniWalker. I was Miss Montana USA 2018, and today I'm going to break down for you how much it cost me to compete for Miss USA. Be sure to stick around till the end because I will be sharing my top 20 interview questions that every contestant should be prepared to answer in an interview. If you're new to my channel, please be sure to subscribe, hit that notifications bell so you don't miss any new episodes, and also follow me on social media at DaniWalker. I'm breaking down exactly what I spent as Miss Montana USA so I can give everyone some perspective, especially future contestants, for what to expect when you're preparing for Miss USA. I have read quite a few comments on my channel that are criticizing contestants during their Miss USA prep, so I'm going to be breaking it down into dollars and cents, what it actually costs a contestant to compete at Miss USA, because unfortunately everything is not sponsored and it's not paid for. The first thing I want to address is that every state title holder has different preparation for Miss USA. The Miss USA National Organization does not help us prepare for the national pageant like some other countries do. A lot of a contestant's Miss USA preparation is going to be dictated by their state director. Some directors direct multiple states, like mine for example. I was a Pageants Northwest title holder, so my directors direct, and still do, Montana, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. So all of us have the same prize package. That's going to be similar for other contestants who also share a director with another state. Typically, all those states are going to have the same prize package. But my prize package for Pageants Northwest varies greatly from what, say, a Miss New York might receive or a Miss Florida might receive. We all get something different. The year I was crowned Miss Montana USA, my prize package was valued at about $100,000. So you might think, wow, oh my gosh, that's so much money, but it's not cash in your pocket. So some of that was sponsored products. Other parts of it was a scholarship that I earned, which is all great and awesome. But the truth is, not all contestants use their total sponsorship or prize package because they might not need all of the things that they were given. And in my case, because I was a Pacific Northwest title holder, a lot of our sponsors were not in Montana. So for example, some business would sponsor us in Idaho, like a hair salon. Well, it's not like I could go just from Montana, book a flight to Idaho to get my hair done. So I wasn't able to use sponsors like that were outside of my state, and that's pretty common. The one sponsor that I did use that was out of state was actually in Utah, and I thought that it was more than worth it to take advantage of this. We had a dental sponsor, so they gave us $10,000 worth of dental work, and that's how I got my teeth bonded. And then I got another set of aligners to straighten my teeth a little bit more for Miss USA. I had to pay out of pocket to fly to Utah and to stay there and to rent cars and for my food and everything, but looking at that cost versus the amount I would have spent on dental care anywhere else, I thought it was worth it. Till this day, that's one of my favorite sponsors ever. Literally, I get compliments on my teeth all the time, and they used to be a really big insecurity for me, so I'm so grateful to Morgan Presley and Dental. I will be grateful forever for what they did for my smile. By the way, if you're watching on a mobile device, please be sure to screenshot this episode, post it in an Instagram story, and tag me at DaniWalker to let me know what you thought about this episode. I'm somebody who meticulously budgets and keeps records of all their expenses, so I had a really nice breakdown of all the things that I spent money on from the time I was crowned until the time that I crowned my successor. So I'm going to break these things down into some simple categories and explain how I grouped those together. The first expense that I had was baggage. It's sort of unavoidable when you're flying. I spent $138.55 on that for the whole year, which I think was a really reasonable number. A big part of that is because I learned how to pack pretty much everything that I needed in a carry-on suitcase, so that saved me a ton of money. And if you guys want to see my packing tips, I'll link an episode right up here that you can check out so you can see how I'm able to travel with just a carry-on suitcase. My next expense was for attending pageants. I wasn't able to get every single ticket comped when I would go and visit and watch various pageants. So the amount I paid for that was $198.55. I also added in the cost of parking that I had to pay for at many of those events. I spent $383.40 on shipping throughout the year. So although some things are sponsored, a lot of the sponsors don't cover shipping costs when you want to receive whatever that sponsorship is for. So for example, when I got my Miss USA dress, I didn't know that I had to pay for shipping for that gown, and it was massive. So shipping just for my Miss USA dress was over $100. I also was paying for things like sending out autograph cards whenever people requested those as well, and that all came out of my pocket. I spent $418.19 on makeup, which I feel like wasn't too bad for an entire year because makeup products are so expensive, but I have to give a shout out to my mom because throughout the year she was helping to cover some of those costs for products because she realized how much I was spending. And that's a really, really great way that a lot of contestants can cut costs, is by considering all of those little expenses that add up throughout the year and getting those things sponsored by someone else. I actually have a sponsorship video that goes into detail about that, and I'll link it right up here because it could be a huge help for any pageant contestant competing in any organization. I spent $899.56 on coaching expenses. Some of your coaching is sponsored for Miss USA dependent on your directors and your prize package, but a lot of it isn't. So I had to pay for some additional coaching to prepare for Miss USA, and I also had to pay for other things that help you prepare, like downloading special news apps so you can stay up to date for interview and for onstage question. And also the Miss USA organization requests a ton of footage from contestants throughout the year to submit for the final show and the telecast. So I spent a little bit of extra money on a Dropbox account so I could make sure that I could send all of those large files because they requested that we use Dropbox. Self-care can be a really big expense. I spent $920.11 on that, which overall throughout the year, I don't feel like it was that bad. Under that category, I think of things like getting my hair done, getting my nails done, and tanning. But once again, mom did come in to save the day to help with some of those expenses. So my mom did sponsor my gym pass for the year, as well as sometimes when I would get my nails done. If you're already looking at these expenses and going, whoa, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into with pageants? Then comment budget down below. I want to hear what your thoughts are so far. When you're on appearances, even if you've flown to a place, you're gonna have to consider how you're gonna get around. So I also calculated the car rentals, the trips on the subway, the Uber and Lyft rides. That totaled to $1,192.08. That price would have been a lot higher if I had not been attending appearances with other title holders. So that was a huge help whenever I did go somewhere, whether I was rooming with another contestant or if I knew they were there, I was always reaching out to them so we could share the cost of transportation from our hotel to an event. If you're like me, you're gonna get real hungry at events, so I calculated the price of food that I spent when I was out on appearances, and that totaled to $1,351.63. That was not including the cost of groceries and all the meals and special food that I was eating throughout the year so that my body was swimsuit ready for the competition. That's just the price that I calculated for the food that I was buying at actual events. Of course, when you go somewhere, you have to have somewhere to stay, so I was booking a ton of hotels, but fortunately I was splitting those hotels with other title holders, so that really helped with that expense as well, and I would encourage any other pageant contestant to look into sharing rooms whenever you're a title holder. I spent $2,966.12 on my hotels throughout that year. And if you're wondering, Miss USA does cover the cost of your hotel, fortunately, while you're at Miss USA. I've also heard that some state pageants will cover hotel costs throughout the year for their title holders, but that's not something that I experienced as Miss Montana USA. By the way, if you want to check out all those adventures throughout the year as Miss Montana USA, you can check out my Road to Miss USA series right here to see myself and a bunch of my sister queens going on adventures throughout the year. I feel like I did a pretty good job on flights. I felt very fortunate to find pretty decently priced flights throughout the year. I spent $3,331.70, so I feel like I did pretty good on those prices. And also what's cool is obviously you get those points, so flights, I didn't think that was too bad. And if you're wondering, your state director pays for your transportation to Miss USA. So they either pay for the price of your flight or how much it would cost you to drive. The one thing that they don't pay for though, however, anymore, because they used to, was airline baggage. That would have been an out-of-pocket expense for me, and I had so much baggage, and each of my suitcases I know was exceeding that 50-pound weight limit. So what I decided to do was to borrow my aunt's truck, and we loaded everything into that truck, and we actually drove to Miss USA together because that ended up being cheaper for me to do. So they paid for all my gas, and that was cheaper for me than flying directly to Miss USA and lugging all of my luggage, which would have cost me so much money for, you know, like your second, third, fourth, fifth checked bag that all exceed a weight limit. So I had to just sort of look at the numbers and see what would have been cheaper. And for me, that was driving to Miss USA. I'm not sure who pays for baggage though for Miss USA. I would assume that the Miss USA organization does pay for her baggage going to Miss Universe, and I would assume that other organizations are paying for their contestants' baggage to go to Miss Universe, because it's not uncommon to see Miss Universe contestants traveling to the airport with something like 20 luggage cases, which is insane to me. So I'm not sure who would pay for those. I would assume that your national organization would, but if you guys know about that, comment below. My last and biggest expense was wardrobe. I spent $8,251.37 on my wardrobe throughout the year, and let me explain exactly what that was, because that might sound like a really big number to everyone. I was paying for wardrobe for all of my appearances throughout the year. Unfortunately, we did not have that type of wardrobe sponsor for casual events. Some state pageants have that covered, and now in the Pacific Northwest, we do have some clothing sponsors that can help contestants, but it's hard because a sponsor doesn't always have something that's appropriate for your specific event that's in your size, and that's the issue that I ran into with our sponsors. One of our sponsors gifted us with 5 cocktail dresses, and when I contacted them, they didn't have any of the dresses that I wanted in my size, and then all the dresses that they were suggesting to me to wear were things that I just did not feel comfortable in. So I only accepted 2 out of my 5 sponsored cocktail dresses, and I didn't even end up using those dresses. My Miss USA gown was not fully sponsored. Unfortunately, there are a lot of state pageants whose sponsors do not cover the full cost. I was given $5,000 as my budget, and I exceeded that, so I spent out of my own pocket over $2,000 on my Miss USA gown. I found out from my other sister queens that some of them didn't even get $5,000 to spend on their Miss USA gown, while other states have everything sponsored, and that's why you would see states in the past bring multiple gowns or have multiple options. Some contestants would have 3 gown options that were all couture and all custom and all just like stunning. And those are typically contestants that are representing what you would consider like a pageant state. So as an example, a state like Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, states like that where the communities that are supporting these young women understand pageantry and they're excited about these young women competing at Miss USA. But when you represent a state like Montana, which is something that you would not consider as a pageant state, it's not really common for young women in Montana to compete in pageants. So when you represent a state like that, you do not have a lot of support. So that's why I had to pay out of pocket for some of my Miss USA gown, and that's why some other contestants had multiple gowns at Miss USA or multiple couture options. And I know that that's a really, really harsh criticism from a lot of people. It's like, why didn't she have better wardrobe? It's because honestly, we couldn't afford it. Like, we can't afford to compete at a level that we would like to compete at because we just don't have the money or the sponsors to do it. So that's the fact about the wardrobe. The other thing you have to consider is for every day that you spend at Miss USA or Miss Universe, they want you to bring 2 pieces of wardrobe, or they recommend. So a casual outfit and a night out outfit. My year, we were at Miss USA for 11 days. That's 22 outfits. That's a lot. And that's not just one piece of clothing like a dress. That's an entire outfit, including your shoes and your accessories, and those things really add up. And then in addition to that, you want to have extra things there with you. So you want to have athletic wear. They end up using athletic wear most of the time for Miss USA B-roll footage, so you're going to have that. You also might want to bring an extra, evening gown as a backup. That could be useful. That could be another expense, or extra night out cocktail outfits or specialty outfits. My year, the welcome party was at a saloon steakhouse sort of thing, so we had to have a country outfit. Luckily, I've got my cowboy boots, but I needed an outfit that was more geared towards that type of venue and event, because that was the one thing that they told us and gave us a heads up about. So all of us had these special country themed type outfits. My advice to any contestants competing at Miss USA is to start purchasing wardrobe for the national competition as soon as you win, so you can spread out all of those expenses. That way you don't end up with a huge bill 4 weeks before you leave to Miss USA, which is about all the heads up that they give you before your national competition. Another difficult thing to do is trying to find pieces that suit the season or the location that you're going to be competing at the national pageant in. So that's another thing you want to be thinking about, is trying to search for pieces ahead of time that are going to be appropriate for the weather wherever your national pageant is going to be held. Usually for Miss USA or Teen USA, it's probably going to be held in the spring or the summer, so you're going to want to have outfits for warm weather, but sometimes contestants competing for Miss Universe are going to compete in cold climates, but it might be summer in their part of the world. The outfits in stores might only be summertime sundresses, and you're there searching for winter wardrobe to prepare for your international competition. So that's something that you have to consider when you're competing internationally, is the wardrobe that you're going to need for the specific season that you'll be competing in. I learned so much about wardrobe and style during my time as Miss Montana USA. A huge thanks to Arnaud. He is the coach for Miss France Universe, and he reached out to me and he helped me so much with my wardrobe and putting all of that together. Because of the things that I learned, I created a style guide, and you guys can check that out on my website. I'll actually link it below in the description as well. And in that style guide, I feature my basic wardrobe pieces for every single season, and then I literally break down for every age division and area of competition or event my favorite stores to shop at or my favorite designers, and I link all of those designers in that style guide. And that was a huge help for me, because when you were looking for a certain piece, I didn't have to scour the internet. I just looked at my style guide and I looked at the section that said cocktail dresses, and I only searched the cocktail dress designers. So that was a huge help for me and a really, really great resource if you guys struggle with finding wardrobe for your competitions. You can check that out. It's linked in the description below. My grand total was $20,051.16, and honestly, I'm probably underestimating that amount, because as I was filming, I realized I spent at least $400 paying for a videographer for my Miss USA footage. That's another expense that you just don't think about, or most contestants don't think about when they win their state title, as well as the wardrobe for that and all the smaller expenses that went around that. There were always little odds and ends throughout the year and other unexpected expenses that popped up. So I'm sure that I actually missed some things, but I wanted to give you guys an approximate number for how much I spent as a title holder. Now, I shared all of that, and I don't want to scare everyone, and I don't want you to think that this is the norm for every single pageant system, that as soon as you win a title that this is how much you're going to be spending. It's so different state to state. As I said, a lot of the things that I needed for Miss USA, they were not covered in my sponsorship, and there were things that just pop up that are unexpected. And also, every contestant wants to prepare a different way. consider too that I wanted to go on lots of appearances. So I didn't have to travel to all these other states to go to these events, but for me that was really important. I wanted to have all of those opportunities and those memories and have those experiences. Now when I look back, I feel like a lot of people might wonder, was it worth it? 100%, 110% it was worth it. The entire experience, the way, oh, this is gonna make me cry, the way that I grew as a person, the dreams that were lived out, the people that I met that are now what I would consider to be family, they're absolutely priceless. It was difficult to come up with all of this money throughout the year because I did not have a secret sponsor that was financing all of these things for me. And this was literally just me working my butt off to pay for all of these things, in addition to normal life expenses, YouTube expenses, all the other things that I do. But all of this to me was worth it because it's a once in a lifetime experience and you can't get that back. You can always make more money and always get that back, but you cannot get back my time as Miss Montana USA, and I just wouldn't trade it for anything. So if you're looking at this and you're intimidated by these numbers, don't be intimidated by these things. It is possible for you to do this. I will add though that before I was Miss Montana USA, I was preparing financially for these things because I knew that there would be a lot of expenses and I didn't know exactly what they would be. So I was saving with the hope that I would become Miss Montana USA. So these things wouldn't be a huge financial burden for me. If you are just starting out in pageants, don't worry about these numbers. You work your way up. These things are gradual. I spent nowhere near that amount of money when I was competing as a junior teen or a teen contestant. It takes time to work your way up to that level, so don't be afraid of it, but 100% it was worth it because, like I said, the experience is something I wouldn't trade. It allowed me to have this platform and voice online and in YouTube. It allowed me to be able to grow my channel to impact young women and young men that are watching this right now around the world. And to me, that was worth everything. It helped me to build my coaching business. I look at all of this and I'm like, it's paid itself off already. If this is your dream, go for it. But I wanted to give you guys this breakdown by the numbers just for my particular experience. Like I said, other state title holders don't have to pay for all of these things. But I wanted to give you guys these numbers so you could prepare, so you could budget, so that when it is your time to go to Miss USA, to go to whatever your dream title is, Miss Earth, Miss World, Miss International, whatever it is. So when it's your time, you can budget, you can be financially prepared so that you feel like you've made the most out of your year and you can do your absolute best. And that's why I wanted to create this episode. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end. I really appreciate it. And because you did so, click the description below and I am linking my top 20 interview questions that every contestant should know and be prepared to answer for her interview. And of course, guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, share this episode with your friends if you think it was fun and interesting to watch, or if you thought it was helpful. Please, 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 that's what you can do to help me if you love this channel, is just to share it with friends. Also connect with me on social media at DaniWalker because I always love hearing from you every single day, reading your DMs and messages. I try to respond to as many as I can. Even if I can't respond, I want you to know how much I appreciate you watching every week and just interacting with me and being a part of this wonderful journey and community. And I just want to say how much I appreciate all of you so much. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and please continue to watch this episode and come back for next week's.